Sitting at the book. Talks about mind control, concentration. We'll get into it. Over the next week or so, we'll get it. You found it? It's an Excel file. Just search it. Just search. Census taking. What it changes.
We're online, you know.
What? You want to start? Okay, I want to show that first. All right, we did several weeks of Raja Yoga. We're on the fifth limb of Raja Yoga now. Before we start, who all know about Raja Yoga? Have some understanding about it?
Quick Google search.
Quick Google search. Raja Yoga is the yoga of development, of mental development. And it has 8 limbs to it. It's called the King of Royal Yoga because you can find at least 10 yogas inside of Raja Yoga. Okay? So that's why they call it the King of Yoga. Inside of Raja Yoga, you have Jnana Yoga, which is the yoga of wisdom. You have Karma Yoga, which is the yoga of action. You know, action mean that action, divine action mean the law of God. Okay. You can find Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of devotion to God. You can find Hatha Yoga is part of Raja Yoga, which is physical development. And you'll find Pranayama. Everybody know what Pranayama is? The breath control. You'll find that inside of Raja Yoga. You'll find also Kriya Yoga, which is another yoga of action, but it's a systematic type action that you adopt in your life. It's a lifelong type pursuit in Kriya Yoga. You also find Mantra Yoga, the yoga of sound, which is Java. You'll find Kundalini Yoga as part of Raja Yoga. What else? You find Layer Yoga is a part of yoga. It's a yoga where it's a yoga of dissolution of consciousness. After you have raised Kundalini, after you awakened Kundalini, then you go through Layer Yoga, where you move the Kundalini up the spine and you dissolve your consciousness into the divine. So that's, I think that's 10, I don't know. But those, at least 10 different yogas are in Raja Yoga. So Raja Yoga touch on that in the 8 limbs of yoga. The first 4 limbs of Raja Yoga is Yama, which is the control of thought and actions, right? Not a speller. That's the first limb. The second limb is Nayama, which with this, you attach type of morality to your actions, right? Observance of a higher power. So you not only control your thought and actions, but you attach morality to it. Number 3 is asana. I'm sure everybody heard of this, right? It's the seats, it's a position and seats of power, which is Mudra Yoga. That's something else that's inside of Raja Yoga. This is actually Mudra Yoga. The 4th limb is pranayama, which is the control of prana. Everybody know what prana is?
Life energy.
Huh?
Is it life energy?
It's energy, yes. It's energy. It's the vital life force within you. Some people call it the breath. But the breath contains prana on it. Prana is not the breath, but it contains prana on it. Prana is the subtle life force within the body, within the universe. Okay? And the fifth one is what we're on today, which is Pratyahara. Okay? And that is the withdrawal senses. You notice that the first 4 is really techniques to mold your actions, your physical actions, all right? There are 4 karmic techniques that shape and mold your karmic position, because what it does, it begins to cleanse your aura. Everybody heard of an aura, right? The aura around the body. Thousands of years ago, the yogis spoke about the aura that's around the body, this magnetic field. Maybe over 100 years ago, man was able to actually film and photograph the aura. They did it in the late 1800s through a series of chemical type glasses where they shine light, or white light through it. They put a person there and they shine the light, and they was able to see this magnetic field around them. So then later on, in the 1900s, they came up with what they call Kirlian photography. I think it was a lady who actually discovered it and developed it. And now, of course, they have computer software that can see the aura. So the aura does exist. The same way the atmosphere around the planet actually exists. We can't see it, but we know it's there because we're living, right? So the first 4 inside your aura is a mental field. It's mental substance. Your mental body is part of your aura, is a layer of your aura. Your brain is only a receiving and transmitting type instrument according to the yogis. Your mental consciousness is actually your aura. It extends all the way around the body. And that's where your consciousness is. Your consciousness is not in the brain. Although your brain is a focal point to transmit mental waves and mental substance and energy, but it is not your consciousness. So when you begin to control your thoughts and actions, you begin to take control over the substance of your aura, because wrong thought and actions creates blockages and distorts the aura. So one of the main things about mysticism is that you have to cleanse the aura in order to allow the gnotic pathways to flow properly. Everybody know what the gnotic pathways are? The gnotic pathways is sort of like the highway that this prana travels within the body. And you have a positive charge flow of energy, and you have a negative flow of energy. The positive is a vital, and the negative is a mental flow. When these two flows cross, you have consciousness, all right? You also have what's called a positive negative, right? Which is a neutral flow of energy, right? Which is, and it doesn't cross, it runs together. And this is pure consciousness, okay? This is also called Shushuna in Sanskrit. All right, this is a Pingala Nati in Sanskrit. And this is an idol. Nati. All right. So these natis are thin lines of force that travel through the body and create a matrix that allow everything else to happen. All right? They actually extend from, everybody heard of Kundalini, right? Who haven't? Kundalini is the primary life force in the body. It is the vehicle of consciousness that your soul uses in order to be alive. In other words, this Kundalini is at the base of the spine. You heard of the chakras, right? Who haven't heard of the chakras? Everybody heard of the chakras? All right. This is the base chakra at the base of the spine. That's where the Kundalini is located. And the Kundalini extends up. Just a small, tiny portion of Kundalini extends up through the nadis, and it leads the nadis. It leads the Kundalini through the Pingala and the Ida nadi. The Kundalini also blocks the Shushuna nati, which is where it actually came from. It blocks the door to that because this is the door to pure consciousness. This is the all-knowledge space. This is what everyone seeks to reach when they go into meditation. So these natis, they leave because now they're separated, they're not whole anymore, and they create 242,000 pathways trying to bring about a balance. They find the balance in what's called the third eye, the Christ center, or Ajna chakra, okay? So all the natis terminate at the chakra, at the Christ chakra. And the Christ chakra is the crown, is right up under the crown chakra, and it is the commando center of all the chakras below it, okay? Now, when these natis terminate, they terminate in specific places in the body, these 242,000 natis. No telling how many branches you have of the natis. They terminate at the eyes, the nose, the ears, the mouth. I severed the mouth because they terminate at the terminate at, some of them at the throat center. They terminate at the hands, too.
What do you mean by terminate?
They stop. They stop moving, they stop growing.
The blockage?
No, that's where they begin to operate. They begin to transform onto many, many different realms of existence. So, in order to give you consciousness, in order to give you expression, so that you can express yourself to the physical world, or the astral world, or the etheric world. So, from there, it creates those 10 senses, not 5. The yogis believe in 10 senses. It creates 10 senses that you experience the physical world through. Okay? So, I had a chart. Did you find it?
I found this one that has this small chart at the bottom.
It doesn't have the 10 senses,
I
though.
have to find it.
It's in there. Why can't you find it?
Can't find it.
So, there's 10 different senses. You have it?
Robin might be able to send it to you.
And these senses is the thing that connects you with this world, this physical world. Now, you understand that you, as a physical being, you have more than one body. Everyone understand that, right? You have a physical body, you have an astral body, you have a mental body, you have an etheric body, you have a pranic body, you have all these different bodies of consciousness, and they express themselves. Remember the old cartoon series where someone hit someone and then the angel flies out of them, you know? And that was the astral body. Okay? So that whole thing came from thousands of years back, where you have this astral counterpart of yourself. Every time you go to sleep at night, that astral counterpart leaves you. And it goes and repeats something that you like. You know, like if you really into tennis, you playing tennis and you love doing it, then what happens? When you go to sleep, you ask your body to go back and play tennis. Then you wake up all exhausted saying, what in the world happened? You have a good night's sleep. So the astral body is very emotional, and it attaches itself to those emotional things that you like doing. So it's a counterpart of you that attracts that emotional, mental part of you. The astral body is actually a distortion to this world. Before, there was only a physical body and an etheric body. And there's ancient teachings, ancient Upanishads that tell us that go back thousands of years. They said that the original race that was here on earth was called the Adamic man. And the Adamic man were very advanced beings. They didn't have the base chakra or the sex chakra. They didn't have these things. They didn't have the solar plexus center either. Their base was the heart chakra. Their bodies were totally different from ours. So they didn't have to reproduce the way we reproduce. And that was the Adam that the Bible talks about. Remember, Adam was born from the earth, according to the allegory. He was formed from the dirt of the earth. Well, in the ancient teachings, Adam was actually born from the earth, but came through what we call the logos of the earth. The spirit of the earth. And Adam, the original Adam, or the Adamic man, they were very advanced beings, almost to the caliber of adepts and masters that lived here on this earth. Meaning that they had total control over their mental and physical makeups. They can move throughout the realms of Earth. They can move physically. They can teleportate. They had enough mental capability to dematerialize and rematerialize on the other side of the Earth. They did not need physical transportation. So Adam, of course, had to leave this earth, and is that it? That's not it, is it? Well, that has all 10 of them, though? Okay. So when mankind as we know it came, according to the yogis, 18,600,000 some years ago, his negative karma impacted the earth such that the whole atmosphere, everything changed. And the Adamic man had to leave because the level of consciousness that the Adamic man was working on was here, and it had to be changed to the base in order to absorb the new race of people, which is people like ourselves. So now we have these 7 chakras along the spine. And our great distortion right now is, and we can, this makes plenty of sense to me, So the base, the sex, and the solar plexus. And you look at the organs around this, and you can see that that's our greatest hindrance when you begin to examine it. These are the 10 senses, and well, I want to show the sense organs too, I guess it's there, that the yogis look at in trying to control. Because we perceive the world from these 10 senses. Okay? Somebody want to call it out? Anybody?
Number 1, that's sight, or visual perception of items. It allows you to experience the item's presence and their visual description. Number 2 is hearing, or perception of sound. It allows you to experience the conscious thoughts / mental expressions of another person or object. Smell, or perception of odor. It allows you to connect with an object or person through the odor or scent that expelled from their being. Taste is the perception of defining flavor and the ability of experiencing something through blending oneself with it through the tongue, a sense organ. Touch is the sensory perception for experiencing the physical state of another object through the skin, the sense organ. Speech is a known additional sense. It's the ability to translate consciousness and thoughts into the spoken word through the tongue, a sense organ of the body. Generation is a known additional sense which builds the attraction to the opposite sex and is the sense organ that it operates from. And the sense organ that it operates from is the genitals and is the instrument for procreation. Excretion is a known additional sense. It's the ability to translate consciousness and thoughts into the spoken words through the tongue, a sense organ of the body. Grasping, this additional sense is the ability to pick up objects, the objects the consciousness perceives. The hands are the sense organ for grasping. And movement, this additional sense is the ability to move through the physical realm with use of the sense organ, the feet.
Okay, so those are the 10 senses. It makes sense, right? So these were the yogis recognized as the 10 senses. So now when you begin to practice pratyahara, you have to withdraw your senses from those areas in order to begin to experience the mental world in a sense. Pratyahara is withdrawing the senses from the physical plane into the mental field, the mental world. Now, there are several methods of doing this, and you can use these methods effectively, but it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to move forward. That's the only slide on that, right? This shows determination. That's all. Okay. So, let's go over the first level of pratyahara is developing concentration. Everybody heard of concentration? The yogic form of concentration? Who haven't heard of the yogic form of concentration?
Like meditation?
It's not meditation, because
Meditation,
meditation, the popular thing of meditation is wrong. Okay, is in the yogic world is not. But how do you look at meditation? What's your definition of meditation?
It's like time for myself to try to bring myself, slow down my mind and bring myself to the present moment.
Okay. See, that's
Like take away all thoughts and really bring myself.
That's a form of visualization and concentration. Okay? There's three types. There's concentration, right? And this is the road to meditation. And you have contemplation. And then you have meditation.
What are those three types of? Those are three types of what?
There are three types of mental control, mental and physical control, really. But all of this leads to this, and then from there you go into samadhi. You heard of samadhi? All right. Well, I'll explain it. And from there, you go into cosmic consciousness. Okay? Concentration is directing your mind down one train of thought, one line of thought, and not allowing your mind to waver. Okay? When you can do that for long periods of time, then you can move from concentration to contemplation. Okay? Concentration, when you can take something and you put it in front of you, and that becomes your whole world and nothing else. And you don't let anything enter your mind. It takes a long time to do, but eventually you'll be able to do it. Eventually you'll be able to do it for 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, then 30 minutes, then an hour, and then 2 hours, 3 hours. That's where you want to be, okay? When you pick one subject or one thing and you concentrate on that, and you let nothing else enter your mind for the time that you have designated for that concentration. When you can do that, you have developed concentration. Okay? Concentration leads to contemplation. Because what happens when you can channel your thoughts and your mind in that direction, what happens is you begin to gain a control over your senses. Okay? You begin to gain control over your senses. What happens, it produces a certain level of results or fruits, I call it. Okay? because what happened is when you begin to focus your sight, you can begin to merge your astral sight with your physical sight. Okay? So what happens is that when the merger of your astral sights and physical sights happen, it produces what? It produces psychic sights. Okay? It produces a psychic sight. The same thing with your smell, it produces a psychic smell. So what does this do for you? It allows your sight to be able to see. You'll be able to see at great distance. You'll be able to see psychically, in a sense. When you're looking at a person, you not only look at them physically, but you look at them psychically. You can begin to see the aura around their body. The first thing you'll notice is you'll see a ziggly line, a ziggly white line, or clear white line around the body. You will notice how it vibrates with their emotions. Okay? After a while, you'll begin to see colors. All right, the first color you'll see is gray. And the next color you might see is red. Or you might see a black background with red, especially when they get angry. Okay? So you'll begin to see these colors from being able to concentrate and contemplate. Okay? So concentration brings about clear thought. Contemplation brings about clear vision, sight, sound, all these things. You'll be able to hear at long distance when you develop your hearing. You'll be able to sense things that's going to happen before it happens. You won't be able to explain it unless you're a scientist and you know all the scientific methods to explaining it. But you'll begin to know how to turn it on and turn it off. Now, when you get deep into contemplation, then you can explain. Okay? Because in contemplation, you're given a series of exercises to do in order to enhance your senses. Just like when man was able to give sight back to patients medically, they noticed that the patients had no perception, right? You heard these stories where they go to a window and they up 4 stories and they see a car down there and they say, oh, it's a toy car. And they go to reach for it, right? Because why? They had no depth perception. Well, when you develop your clairvoyant ability or your clairaudience, or clairsensitive, or psychometry, which is the touch, you have no depth perception. You have no perception of this world. So you have to practice over and over and over and over until you gain that type of perception. So there's a method called, in the deeper forms of contemplation, called, what is it called? It's called a samyama. You learn to do samyamas on everything that you touch, see, or come into contact with, so that you can learn from it. You can begin to learn from it. And what it is, in a sense, you become, in a sense, you can Google things just by touching it, just by seeing it, in other words. This is ancient knowledge that I'm telling you. It's been out there for thousands of years, but it's only taught in certain schools. I was born into this. From a child, I was taught to this knowledge. So I decided to give it out to the world. You know, so the thing is that when you look at someone, when you look at their aura, you can look at their whole disposition. You can see their past, their present, and you can see their future. In other words, you Google them, but it's much better than the Google because it's right there. You cannot hide. Of course, you take an oath, you have a moral responsibility not to invade people's privacy. What whatever you see or know, you don't tell unless it's absolutely necessary. So this is what Pratyahara leads you to. When you take your senses and go into the mental world, you begin to control the mental world to the point where you can begin to develop your psychic abilities. Okay? Now, meditation, contemplation leads to meditation. Now, in order to reach the level of meditation, true meditation, it is said that you need to be able to concentrate for at least 12 hours without a waiver of thought. Okay? Of course, this 12 hours will lead you into a state of contemplation. All right? And you'll see thousands and hundreds of thousands of visions, you know. Because one of the things that happen in concentration and in contemplation is when you close your eyelids, it becomes a TV screen. You see all different types of things. Okay? So it leads, when you can concentrate for 12 hours, that means that you have the level, you have the ability to contemplate, and you have the ability to contemplate deep. This contemplation will be able to take the power of 12 hours of concentration and maybe reduce it to an hour to 3 hours. This will give you the ability to trigger meditation. Okay? What is meditation? Meditation is becoming one with that thing that you concentrate or contemplate on. Okay? So, what happens in meditation? Meditation is when you unlock the power of contemplation. You can turn that up. You unlock the power of Kundalini. Okay? The Kundalini that's been locked away for all your lifetimes. Right? When you can contemplate and when you can concentrate and contemplate for these long periods of time, you will be able to knock at the door of this 3.5 knock called Kundalini, and you'll be able to unlock it. And when you unlock that, then you'll be able to move the vital life energy within the body and push it in one direction. And when you do that, the thing that you want to do is move it from the base of the spine up to the sex center, and you use that concentrated energy to open the sex center in order to tap into the all-knowledge space. And once you have opened that sex center and taking all the information you can take at that particular atomic time, you move to the solar plexus center. And you take that energy, that concentrated energy, and you open this the same way. Based on your own karmic situation, configuration, whatever, a certain amount of knowledge is given to you. And you move from there and you go to the heart chakra and you open that up. Depending on your ability is how high you can go. At this point, you're making union with God. It is said that within the chakra is the Bendu. it is said that the soul, which uses Kundalini as a vehicle of consciousness, moves itself into these positions so that it can be bathed in the light of the spirit. The spirit itself is the divine spark of God. Okay? So, yoga, the meaning of yoga is what? Anyone?
Union with God.
Union with God. That's the meaning of yoga, union with God. So, what you're actually doing is you are making this union with God through taking control over all the mental substance in the body, moving this Kundalini from the base of the spine to these chakras, which are vortex centers of consciousness, and opening them in order to gain supreme knowledge. Now, the thing about this is that when you remove all the energy from the base of the spine, everything below the spine is dead. There's no more vital energy there. When you move it to the sex center, everything below the sex center is dead. This is true meditation, is bringing about a conscious state of death. Okay? That's what it is. So when you move to the solar plexus center, same thing. Everything below is dead. When you go to the heart chakra, everything below is dead. When you go to the throat chakra, the heart starts beating. Everything below it is dead. Okay? If you read a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi, you'll notice when they describe meditation, he described his master as being dead, with no breath. In fact, he witnessed several yogi adepts and masters go into this state, and they had no breath, no heartbeat whatsoever. The same thing happened with the yogi. It was called Swami Rama. In his book, he witnessed his master die. They even set up a funeral, and was having a funeral, and had everybody coming out to bury him, and then all of a sudden they got into a big argument about the whole thing and said they didn't, the two factions, they didn't know how to do it, and the master came back alive, which scared all of them to death, and he said, "I'm going somewhere else because you all can't figure out where to bury me." how to hold my funeral. So he left to go in the wilderness to dispose his body. So this is true. These stories have been around for hundreds of years. In fact, Swami Rama's master, that was in the early 1900s. The early 1900s. And there were several witnesses that said, yes, it happened. Same thing with the Autobiography of a Yogi, which is, I think, is in 150 different colleges around the country. So when you bring it here, everything is dead. But your consciousness is here. And you are an adept. You're on the verge of being a master. Okay? The whole thing about Jesus on the cross is that he took the Kundalini from the base all the way to the crown of the head. He stepped out of the body and rebuilt the body. In fact, that's what he stated before he even did it. He said, I will step out of the body and I will rebuild his body in 3 days. See? And then he stepped back in the body, and he was in a risen body because why? He rebuilt the body to a risen body, an ascended body. And then he was able to walk among people. 2,000-year-old story. And if you study Jesus, you'll see that he went to the Tall Cross Monastery in Tibet, and he learned this. In fact, he mastered their teachings and began to teach them. And then he came back and performed the miracles that he did through his yogic ability to control mind, body, and matter around him. Okay? So, after going through meditation for many, many times, you will be able to go into samadhi, which is a deep, deep meditative state. Okay? And after going into samadhi for many, many times, then you will have a state called cosmic consciousness. And you'll be able to go, it's a cosmic consciousness, I don't want to get into that, but you'll have this cosmic consciousness state. Now, some of the people describe this cosmic consciousness or meditation as when they go into this meditative state, they become aware of everything around them. Maybe like the first time they go into it, they become aware of all life around them. And they begin to learn that everything is alive. In fact, they have this vision as though like if they went into meditation here, they would recognize the consciousness of this whole campus. Then they would recognize the consciousness of the whole town. Then after that, the county. The birds flying in the sky, the airplanes, they would feel, their consciousness will expand to the point where they feel hundreds and thousands, maybe millions of life forms around them. And they connect with that. That's meditation. That's true meditation. And it's a peaceful state. They become a part of the whole, in a sense. So after doing meditation for many, many times, that field of consciousness grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until it becomes a part of you. Every time you come back down out of meditation, a part of that level of power and strength stay within you because it reconfigured your gnotic structure, in a sense. So now you're not functioning the way most people function. You don't think the way most people think because you experience. If right now, if you were to take a trip around the world for 60 or 70 days, you'll come back here and you'll be totally different. You may not notice it until 6 months to a year later because your contact with all those other people that you met will change you. You'll have a different perspective. You know, you will have a totally different perspective. Because you, first of all, you have an appreciation of where you are, and especially in this country, because of all the resources that's given to you. And I know because my people's from Cat Island, Bahamas. So you go back there and come back here, you kiss the ground, in a sense. Not saying that Cat Island is not a good place, I love it. But you have so much modern convenience here. You know, so, but that's the type of attitude you'll have. Now imagine if you go on a trip of meditation where you connect with the whole world. You have a great appreciation for life. All life. That's why you find these yogis are vegetarians. They don't want to kill. The Buddhist yogis, they won't kill anything. And some of their sects, they won't kill a bug on the ground. You know, so it gives you a different perspective of life, even in the contemplative level. When you go into the mystic states with contemplation, you feel that same thing. Okay? So Pratyahara, there are several methods you can use. You can use mantra to make that mantra a part of you, where you chant that mantra until that becomes your whole world. And in a sense, what happens, if you do it right, with the right mudras, what will happen is that you will disconnect yourself from the world, from all your other senses. And that mantra becomes your world. And you'll begin to contact that mental part of you. Now, mantra is very powerful. If someone was to look at your aura, the first thing they'll notice a bunch of trash in your aura. That's what I call it, trash. All these different thoughts and, schedules that you need to do. You need to do this by whatever. All these things, things you need to do in your house, things you need to do on your job, things you need to do for your child, your baby. It's all in the aura. And it clouds the aura. And it blocks these chakras. The chakras are constantly receiving energy and transmitting energy. It's constantly receiving mental images and transmitting mental images along with energy. Your aura, like on a cloudy day, it puts a cast over it. So it stops an energy flow. But when you chant a mantra and you focus your thoughts, that mantra spins the aura in a certain way and it clears the chakra pathways. And it allows a good transmission of thought and energy. Okay? Now, you may think that when you're thinking something, it's coming from your head. It's not. It actually enter and exit through one of your chakras. Mental thoughts enter and exit from your chakras. Okay? Now, scientists kind of figured this out in a sense, but they haven't connected the dots. They say if I touch this to see if it's hot or cold, what happens? Anybody remember the basic science? What they say happens?
The double relay, the spine.
Up and down the spine.
The
Yeah.
double relay.
Goes to your-
It's a double relay, right? I touch it, and the information goes up my hand, down my spine, back up, back down to my hand, back up, and then to my brain. Okay, so what they left out is that the information also enter and exit the chakras. Okay, they don't have the instruments, I guess, to detect that yet, but that's what's happening. They actually enter and exit the chakras. So so mantra is always good to use this, to use mantra. Now after that, you can use various methods. Once you have cleared the aura, you can use various methods of blocking out the thoughts. You can physically sit down with maybe a mental mudra. This is a mental mudra, right, that helps calm the mind. This or this, right? And you can begin to concentrate on shutting down your senses. Easiest way to shut down the eyes is just closing the eyes. But you want to focus on not recognizing the smell or the hearing, and you want to pick a particular subject or object that you want to place in the mind. Okay? And you concentrate on that. Okay, that's one way. There's another method which is much deeper. Don't do it for too long. Time yourself for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or even 1 minute. And that is the method, the mudra, where you take the hands Place it over the eyes, thumbs, over the ears, and here, over the nose, and this over the mouth. And you stare upwards, okay? And that cuts off all the senses. After a while doing that, you'll begin to see lights in the eyes, or panorama view. If you do that, designate the time. You're only going to do it for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. Don't go all out. You only have to do it a couple of times and then go back and sit into the silence. Okay? What this does, it gives you a perspective of what it should be like to cut off the senses. Now, that particular practice, I think it was a practice from the spiritual hierarchy of Earth. They say that every time you perform that particular practice, you advance 1,000 years. So that it lets you know how far we're behind, because we're totally disconnected from the mental world. We have no idea of what we can do. We have allowed a handful of people in the world to guide us into this new technology, new whatever. If we were connected to ourselves, this whole computer technology would have been around hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, because it would have been discovered then. So, withdraw the senses. Yeah.
What is your opinion on incense and stimulating the senses in that respect? Some people say incense will cure the ambiance. Some others say that incense can stimulate that sense of smell, so we should refrain from it. What is your?
In doing that type of practice, it depends on where you are. Mostly, in my opinion, incense are used to change the aura of a room, right? Certain, or you can grow certain flowers around your house, and it'll keep away certain mental thought forms. They won't be able to fester and grow there. A thought, when you think a thought is a living thing. And if it finds the right place, it can multiply, just like bacteria. If you put certain bacteria in the right place, it just grow out of hand. If certain mental thoughts, because of maybe the shape of the house, the configuration of the house, or the history of the house, or the soil, or the grass, or the plants, that thought will just multiply. So that's why you find most yogis or let's say ashrams, that's why you see them grow certain plants, because it creates like a auric or some type of etheric barrier, feel around the place. That's what it actually does. So when they take the incense, that's just like a little small part of it. It helps at time, but it's not gonna be lasting. If you grow the plant, it'll be lasting. Okay, that's the difference. It's just creating some type of mental field there that combat certain negative thoughts. Certain negative thoughts can. In fact, if you grow certain plants in certain areas, certain entities that prey on the entities from like the lower realms that prey on the physical realm, they won't be able to enter that area because of certain incense and certain plants. Okay. You had a question? Okay, so that's simple. I guess those two simple practices. Everybody got it? Chant the mantra first. Right? The mantra creates And the mantra, you have to do some type of pranayama. You breathe evenly, okay, before you start the mantra. Evenly means that when you breathe out, make sure whatever you breathe out, it equals you breathe in, it equals your breathe out. When you first begin to do pranayama, first breathe out. Push all the energy out of the lungs, and then start your pranayama. You can count. When you're doing this is another mudra. And a mudra is, the mudra, your 5 fingers, this is connected to the base of the spine. This is connected to your sex center. This is connected to your solar plexus center, your navel. This is connected to your heart center, which is here. And this is connected to your throat center. All right? So then that's why mudras work. It's a flow of energy back to those centers. So when you count, you can count 16 counts on here. There's four things, so you can count. If you count 16 times across here for the intake of breath, you might only be able to count 10 or 8. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. You breathe in 8 counts. You exhale 8 counts. And you do that over and over and over until you find that you relax. Then you start your mantra. Okay? And once you did mantra for at least 5 minutes to 10 minutes, or whatever time you want to spend doing it, it should clear up those pathways, and then start your mental concentration. Find one thing that you want to concentrate on and make that your world. Okay? When you chant the mantra, make sure the mantra is all you think about, all that's it. We have a tape of mantras given by a yogi in the Their Society. It's a theorist.org. You can go there and you can buy a mantra. There's at least 11 mantras there. And the mantra should only be given by someone who the mantra lives within. Okay? So that's that. And any questions? If there are no questions, we can close out. Next week we'll go into concentration. Okay? We have a little short prayer, and then we'll close out. There's a mudra that we use for the prayer. And the prayer, this type of prayer, it actually brings results.